Shalom again, everyone. Trust that we are all ready to learn. This week's lesson will be similar to last, where we are going to just uncover or remove the veil from some things that they hide in plain sight. And it's not necessarily hide that they are hiding them, it's just that they have preoccupied the population's mind with finding or making a daily living, and as such persons don't take notice of these things. And so we're going to be looking at some more words like we did last week and some other symbols and see their origin and how they are still rampant today in this world. All right, so the rabbit hole of conspiracies. The first word we're going to look at is English. The word English originates from Angles. The Angles were a Germanic tribe that settled in Britain during the 5th century. It's Old English, originally Inglis, meaning pertaining to the Angles. So whatever had to do with the Angles was called English. Root, it is likely from Proto-Germanic angus, referring to narrowness or constriction, possibly describing the hook-shaped land angul where the tribe lived. So you notice a lot of things that we've been looking at from last week. You're seeing a recurring theme of Germanic. A lot of persons don't necessarily know that England that we are seeing in the world today comes from Germany. And if England comes from Germany, it means then that America also comes from Germany, because America comes from England. It's the English who went over into America and took the land from the native Amerindians, the Choctaws and the Cherokees and all these people, the Arawaks and these people. They took the land from those people and then called themselves American. So if the Germanic people went and farmed England, and then the England people went and farmed America, then Germany and England and America, are from Germany. And that is why you're going to see a recurring thing with Germany when we look at these words, because they are English words. The people of England, the speech of England, when you hear English, noun use of Old English, adjective English, contrasted to Denisk, Francisque, etc., of or pertaining to the Angles. So same thing, pertaining to the Angles, the tribe that went and settled in Britain. From Angle, which is plural, the Angles, the name of one of the Germanic groups that overran the island in 5th century. Supposedly so called because Angul, the land they inhabited on the Jutland coast, was shaped like a fish hook. Technically of the Angles, but English also was used from earliest times without distinction for all the Germanic invaders. So you have the Angles, you have the Saxons, you have the Jutes, and applied to their group of related languages by Alfred the Great. So you have some Germanic tribes, you have the Angles, the Saxons, and that's how you get Anglo-Saxon. The term Anglo-Saxon derives from the Latin Angli Saxonis, 8th century, used by writers like Bede the Venerable to distinguish the Germanic tribes that settled in Britain, Angles and Saxons, from the older Saxons on the continent. It combines the tribal names Angle and Saxon to describe the combined predominantly West Germanic population. Anglo comes from the Angles, refers to and we looked at that already, where the Anglo comes from. And the Saxon comes from the Saxon tribe, refers to Germanic people who inhabited modern-day northern Germany. The name is traditionally linked to seax, a type of knife or short sword used by the tribe. So English, Anglo-Saxon, everything is pointing us back to Germany. Now we're going to look at some other things. I find I wasn't going to do this week, but when I saw how everything came together, it was amusing to me, so I decided to just go ahead with it. I think Akazia would have sent me a video roughly over a month ago, if not more. And I was yet to watch the video, and I came across all of these words. It just came up to me this week, and I went looking into all of these words. And when I was looking at all of these words, I remember that she sent me a video and I said I was going to watch it. And I watched that video today. And when I watched the video, I realized that the video was basically looking at all these words that I had in this presentation, because I put this together from Wednesday or Thursday evening when I came home from work. And then I went and watched the video that she sent me, and the video is basically the same as the presentation, which is funny. Anyways, grammar. The next word we're going to look at. The word grammar originates from the ancient Greek grammatike, meaning art of letters or skill in writing, derived from grammar, letter, or something written. When you're looking into the etymology of these words, you have to dig a bit deeper because they try to hide the true meaning of these things or the true origin of these things. It entered English via Latin, grammatica, and Old French, grammaire, historically referring to the study of Latin literature and even magic. That is what we are interested in, magic, as in glamour or grammare, referring before narrowing to mean the rules of language. When you go to etymology online, it says late 14th century Latin grammar, rules of Latin from Old English, grammar or grammar, learning, especially Latin and philology, also magic, incantation, spells, mumbo jumbo, and irregular semi-popular adaptation. So you realize when you're studying English language and you're drafting your sentences, you need to go to the word sentence. It's funny, I'm going to share the link to the video in the group so everybody can watch it for themselves, because not everything is in the presentation. The video is very interesting, even the word. So you put all the words together, you get a sentence. A sentence is a penalty for a crime. You go to the judge to get sentencing. So when you form your sentence and someone read a sentence, they determine if the sentence is grammatically correct. So you should have proper grammar when you're speaking or writing the English language. And you realize that grammar comes from casting of spells. And if you know anything about witchcraft, if you watch any of those TV shows or any of those movies, a spell is something that is written in a book, and the witch or the whatsoever that person is called, the sorcerer, have to recite the spell as it is written in the book. And if the book says X and you say Y, then the spell does not work. You have to recite it exactly as how it is written. It must be done properly, and that is where we get grammar from. You have to speak exactly how the rules of the language say you ought to speak. So in English, you have something called subject and verb agreement. Your subject and your verb must agree. That's a rule of the language that makes your sentences or your speech grammatically correct. So it's a rule. You have to speak that way. If you don't speak that way, your grammar is off. Your spell is off. You're not casting the correct spell. The classic Latin word is from Greek grammatike, techne, art of letters, referring both to philology and to literature in the broadest sense. Feminine of grammaticus, pertaining to or versed in letters or learning. Versed in letters or learning. And letters, when you put letters together, what you call it? When you have to put letters together. When you say C-A-T, what are you doing?
Spell.
Spell, you're spelling, and we're going to look at that next. So you realize it's a forming of your letters, putting your letters together. You are versed in letters. So you're casting a spell. That's why they call it spelling. Proper spelling gives you grammar. Anyways. An Old English gloss of it was, I can't pronounce that, staff. For the magic sense, compare grammary. Grammary is evolution. The evolution is characteristic of the Dark Ages. Learning in general, knowledge peculiar to the learned classes. So this type of knowledge is peculiar to the learned classes. They sound like hidden knowledge, occultic knowledge, which included astrology and magic, hence the secondary meaning of occult knowledge, which evolved in Scottish into glamour. So when they tell you that you're glamorous, it's not anything good. So they said that we're supposed to look at the word grammari, and that's what we're going to do, grammari. That's even if that's how it's pronounced. So grammari is early 14th century, grammari also learning, erudition, hence magic, enchantment, a variant of grammar, perhaps from Old French grammar. Also a book of conjuring or magic. Grimoire. So French grimoire means gibberish or incomprehensible nonsense. When someone is casting a spell, you don't understand a word they're saying. Sound like gibberish, incomprehensible nonsense, because they have to be reciting it as it is written in a book. Them themselves don't even know what they're speaking. And that is what I think when Jamaican people say them in tongues and they talk a lot of things, I think it's demonic in the dark magic sense. So that's grammar. Has to do with magic, spells, enchantment. Now we're going to look at spell. There's a Middle English spell from Old English spell, which means story, saying, tale, or story in prose as opposed to verse. History, narrative, fable, discourse, command. So they say the spell is a command. If you hear they say someone is under a spell, they have no controls, like they are under a command. English, sermon, religious instruction from Proto-Germanic spellam. Old High German spell, Gothic spill, which means to report, to discourse, a tale, it's fable, it's myth. The oldest senses are obsolete from century 1200 as an utterance, something said, a statement, a remark, the meaning, set of words with supposed magical or occult powers. It's an incantation, it's a charm. It's recorded from the 1570s. Hence, any occult influence or means or cause of enchantment. Term spell is generally used for magical procedures which cause harm or force people to do something against their will, unlike charms for healing, protection, etc. So you have to have your proper spelling to ensure that your grammar is correct, because the whole thing have to do with witchcraft. Now remember, the English language comes from Germany predominantly, and it borrows from all the other pagan languages. You ever notice you don't find an English word that has any Hebrew roots? You can't find one. All the English words have root in Latin, French, German, and all the other pagan languages, Greek. The next thing is charm. A lot of us love our charms. Innocent little bracelet, eh? A charm is an incantation, a magic charm from Old French charme, magic charm, magic spell, incantation. It's a song or a lamentation from Latin carmen, which means song, verse, enchantment, religious formula from canere, to sing. The notion is of chanting or reciting verses of magical power, the sense of pleasing quality. So they said that the person is charming, it says sense of pleasing quality. But the reason why they tell you that the person is charming is because the person entices you. The person enchants you, so you are charmed because you're enchanted by the person. You can't help but to admire them. So it's an enchantment. And so the females ask for Prince Charming because they want to be enchanted. It's all demonic. The whole language is demonic. In the 1300, Charmin to recite or cast a magical spell, to enchant, to fill someone with desire for something, to protect, cure, treat, to maltreat, to harm, from late Latin carminere. So the charms at Pandora cell, charms usually provide some kind of protection from evil spirits. We know that it's our protection is Yahuwah and not any item that you put on your wrist. And so this whole thing is just demonic. The next word we're looking at is media. Media. Media comes from medium. Medium. Media is the plural of medium. That's it. If I am remembering correctly, I think media is plural of medium. 1580s, it means a middle ground, quality or degree. Yeah, your degree again. All of these words have their demonic roots. The quality or degree, that which holds a middle place or position, from Latin medium, the middle, midst, center, interval. Many of the secondary senses are via the notion of intervening substance through which a force or quality is conveyed, and intermediate agency, a channel of communication. So it's a medium. When you hear about a medium, ever watch shows and hear them say this, that woman is a medium, even the Torah tell you that you don't go to mediums. Don't go to a medium. It's a medium. It's a witch. Someone who acts as an intermediary between the spiritual world and the physical. So they speak to the dead. It's a medium. Or the dead come alive in them and speak to you, takes over the body. So it's from the former, via application to air, etc., comes the sense of one's environment or conditions. From the latter comes the sense of a print publication, which later grew into the meaning in media. So you realize we get all our information from media. Media is the medium which the demons use to communicate to us. And that's why you notice that all of our media nowadays contain homosexual content and every other content that you would not want to expose your children to is contained in every single media, no matter how innocent you think it is. Even on YouTube, when you tell you that is YouTube for kids, it contains homosexual media, because media is the medium, and medium is the intermediary between the demons and humanity. That's how the demons communicate with or to humanity. It's through mediums. In spiritualism, a person who conveys spiritual messages is a medium. The notion is liquid with which pigments are ground or mixed to give them desired fluidity. That's in reference to painting. The next one is television. Television, and you realize vision is a part of it. So it's a fusion of two words. Tele. Tele means far. It comes from the Greek tel, word forming element of Greek origin meaning far or far off, operating over distance. It also comes from the Greek telos, and telos actually means end, goal, completion, or result. End, goal, completion, or result. This is important because basically what we're saying is that the television contains the end vision, or the vision of the end, or the goal vision, completed vision, or the vision completion. The television contains the vision of the demonic world. That is why you can watch a movie from 2010 and the things that you saw in the movie were not present in your immediate world in 2010, and by 2020 it is a reality. I remember when I was a child, I used to see persons with phones in their hand that it was just pure screen. And when you were watching it, it was like, whoa, that's impossible. A distant future. And that is our reality today. When I was a child, I used to watch movies and see persons walk up to doors and the doors open without anyone touching it. That is our reality today. So whatever you see in the movies, in the media, in the television, it is the vision of the demons. That's their goal. They are showing you their goal or the end that they envision for everyone. So that is the purpose of television. You see, vision is the act of seeing, sight, thing, or seeing. Further look into the Hebrew, into the Greek word, telos, is an ancient Greek term meaning end, goal, purpose, or fulfillment. Central to Aristotelian philosophy. And once you hear this, you know it is nothing good. When you hear Aristotle, when you hear Plato, when you hear Socrates, to a Hebrew, it's nothing good. These are the men, as I told you, who are the founding fathers of the thinking of the world today, the Western thinking. They are the founding fathers of philosophy, the founding fathers of all the studies that you can think of today. Has some roots in these men thinking. The reason why people debate nowadays and there is no conclusion to the debate is because of these men. Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. These men created these things where you just debate and you debate and there's no conclusion to the debating. And that's why Paul said, don't get caught in endless debate. There's no purpose to it. Because debate, the purpose of a debate is not to arrive at the truth, but who can bring for the most convincing argument and not necessarily the truth. And that's just a waste of time, because if your goal is not the truth, then it's a waste of time. So anyways, telos was central to Aristotelian philosophy. It refers to the ultimate purpose or the final cause or intended outcome of a person. So the television is the final cause or the intended outcome. It's an object or a natural process. It signifies the completion, the aim or mature state of a thing. Aristotle used telos to describe the final cause in his four causes, arguing that everything has a purpose or inherent goal. For example, the telos of an acorn is to become an oak tree. So in other words, the purpose of an acorn is to become an oak tree. That's the end goal. The purpose of a orange seed is to become an orange tree that you can get orange from. It's the end goal. In the Bible, the word appears over 40 times in the New Testament, often meaning end, outcome, or fulfillment of a purpose or event. The next word is academy. You know, you have to be a part of academia to be considered bright or educated so you can get a job. Academy is a classical academy, properly the name of the public garden where Plato taught his school. So again, you hear another name that I tell you once as a Hebrew, you hear this name, nothing good. Plato. That's where academy comes from. That was the name of the garden where Plato taught his school. From Old French academe and directly from Latin academia, from Greek academia. The academy, the grove of Academos. Academos is a legendary Athenian of the Trojan War tales. When you hear Athenian, you think Athens, you think Greece. Athens is the capital of Greece. So it's a Greek thing. Academos was a legendary figure in Greek mythology. And that's where they get academy from. His name, Latinized as Academos, apparently means of a silent district, who was originally estate holder of the site being the garden where Plato taught his school. The academy as a place where arts and sciences were taught, 1580s, from phrase groves of academe. The name of the public gymnasium and gardens near Athens where Plato taught from Greek. So academia also was used in reference to Plato's doctrines. I know me said, brethren, see there. Academia was used in reference to Plato's doctrines. So academia today is basically, everything in academia is basically a derivative of what Plato taught. And it all comes from Greek. Plato think of these things in his head. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are true, but it sounds good. And it is what is taught as facts today, as reality. And if you don't learn this, you are not considered to be educated. You're not considered to be eligible to work in certain areas, and you are frowned upon if you don't have any form of academic qualification. Academia, in a modern general sense of the word of universities and scholarship, is attested in English from 1849. Education. Education literally means child rearing or the training of animals. From French education and directly from Latin educationem, a rearing or training, noun of action from past participle, stem of educare, see educate. So you're rearing animals, you're rearing children, you're training children, and how you train them? In academia, Plato's doctrine. There's nothing wrong with training a child, but what are you training them to do? In this world, you train them in Plato's doctrine. In Hebrew, you train them in the Torah, in the ways of Yahweh. Mid-15th century educaten, which means to bring up or to train, from Latin educatus, past participle of educare, which means to bring up, to rear, or to educate. It also means to lead, which is a frequentative of or otherwise related to educare, which means bring out, lead forth. I would argue that education means to lead out of Yahweh, or to lead, or to bring out from Yahweh. So you lead them away from him. According to Century Dictionary, educare of a child is usually with reference to bodily nurture or support, while educare refers more frequently to the mind. And again, the mind thing come from Plato. These are the first people who start to study mind. The Greeks, because the Hebrew is a concrete culture. Everything is concrete. They give you something that you can use from your environment to understand it. Plato are the persons who came up with abstract thinking. Graduate is the next word, because when you go through academia, you get your education, you have to graduate. What does graduate mean? One who holds a degree is a graduate. You hold a degree. The word degree, we know where that come from. We know how the secret societies have their degrees that you have to attain to reach different levels within their organization. From medieval Latin graduatus, past participle of graduare, to take a degree, from Latin gradus. Gradus means a step or a step climb. So you climb a step, just you level up, you rank up. Figuratively, a step towards something, a degree of something, rising by stages. So you know that the secret society have degrees, and you take steps, ranking up these degrees. And that is what it means to graduate, to hold a degree or to take a step within the doctrine of Plato. It is derived from the medieval Latin graduatus. We read that already. This reflects the academic concept of moving upward through steps on a ladder of learning. And when you go to school, to university, you do your degree, and you get a Bachelor of science or a master of science. And we looked at science last week, but seeing that it is connected to what we're doing now, we're going to look at it again. So when you get your Bachelor of Science, you're going to see what it means because you went to the academy, education, learned Plato's doctrine, and now you are a Bachelor of Science. You're a Bachelor of knowing and discerning. We know about this knowledge already. This is not the knowledge of the Creator. This is the knowledge that we were not supposed to have. This is the knowledge we were commanded to stay away from. Persons like to talk about the apple. Adam and Eve ate the apple. As information. You went and sought information that you had no business knowing. And this is the nature of mankind to this very day. We know no limits when we are searching out things. So when you're a Bachelor of Science, you're a bachelor. You have a bachelor's degree in Plato's knowledge. You have a bachelor's degree in the sin that our forefather Adam and Kawa committed in the garden. When you have your master's degree, you rank up further. When you have your PhD, you rank up even further. And it keeps going. And you also have one before that is called the associate degree. Now the degree. Degree is a step or a stair, also a position in a hierarchy and a stage of progress. A single movement toward an end. From Old French degré, a step of a stair, a pace, a degree, academic degree, a rank, a status, a position. A word of wide use in Middle English in 14th century, it also meant way or manner. Says the way or manner. We know that that is not the way of Yahweh. And that is it for the words. Now we're going to look at some weird facts. And this is where it gets interesting. Look at the Nickelodeon sign on this island called Little St. James. Now, Little St. James, infamously nicknamed Epstein Island, is a small private island in the United States Virgin Islands, southeast of St. Thomas. This is the island that is owned by Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is known to have trafficked children and sexually assaulting them with his rich counterparts from around the world. And it is no wonder the Nickelodeon sign shapes like that island because Nickelodeon is known for employing and exploiting children around the world. The Monster Energy drink logo shapes like a Vav. Letter Vav in the Hebrew alphabet bears the number 6. And the Monster logo has 3 Vavs, which means that you have 6, 6, 6. Google Play sign. To the left is the seal of Satan or the sigil of Lucifer. One and the same. Your Play Store for your Android phone. The Masonic square and compass. In the middle is the Android product store. And to your right is the Apple App Store. One and the same. Hidden in plain sight. The Gmail logo. And to your left is the Masonic Royal Arch Apron, worn by Masonic priests. Facebook sign. And to your left is the Masonic Tubal cane, or the Facebook logo. The Google Chrome to your left, the Google Chrome logo, and to your right is the Divine King sign. And you notice 666 again. This is 1 6, this is 2 6, and this is 3 6. 6 6 6. The all-seeing eye of providence, often referred to as the Illuminati sign, and the Google Maps. Google Maps is seen as the all-seeing eye because it tells you where you ought to go and it knows everything, even though sometimes it lost you. But it is modeled after the all-seeing eye of providence. The Vesica Piscis is to the left. All of these are Masonic or secret society symbols, devil worship symbols, occultic or satanic symbols. And to your right is the Gucci logo. To your right is the Chanel logo. These are huge designer brands in the world today. You don't get that huge unless I need not say anymore. The GQ logo. The MasterCard logo. There's a lot more. I have the Pepsi and a lot more. I just pick a few of them. Most of them are modeled after the Vesica Piscis. The twin-tailed siren is to your left, and to your right is the first logo of Starbucks. And this is the current logo of Starbucks. Same twin-tailed siren, holding her tails. Now to the US dollar. The US dollar is a very interesting currency. The $1 per se is the most popular one, and it contains some alarming symbols. The first of which is the all-seeing eye of providence, as you can see here, with the Latin annuit coeptis. What does that mean? Go to Google, do not take my word for it. Share the screen again, share the entire screen this time. Zoom. So annuit coeptis is a Latin phrase meaning he favors or has favored our undertakings. So let us go back to it. This phrase is above the all-seeing eye of providence. So if it is saying he favors our undertakings, it is saying that the all-seeing eye. And this is a Masonic sign. And it is no secret that the founding fathers of America were Freemasons. That is no secret. It's very well documented. It's public knowledge. If you do your research, you can find it. It's not hidden. It's no secret. The first set of presidents were Freemasons. Washington, D.C. was built by Freemasons, built upon Freemasonry, and all the architecture in Washington, D.C. are Freemason architecture. Extremely prominent. You'd be shocked if you go and do your research. Anyways, so the all-seeing eye of providence has favored our undertakings. And then below it, you have Novus Ordo Seclorum. What does that mean? Novus Ordo Seclorum is a Latin phrase translating to a new order of the ages. Come again now. So the all-seeing eye of providence has favored our undertakings. What is the undertakings? A new order of the ages. When we read in the writings of Abraham, what did Abraham say that our forefathers were a part of and we should endeavor to be a part of? Anybody remember?
The order of the ancient.
The order of the ancient, and ancient suggests an old order, right? So it means then that this new order of the ages would be something completely in contrast to what Yahuwah intends for us to walk in. And the all-seeing eye of providence, the Satan, has favored the undertaking of the new order of the ages. This is on your American dollar. This is a closer look at it. Let me go back. So this would be the, you're seeing here, but the watermark is in it. This would be the eagle. And I'm going to show you the eagle now. So this is the eagle. And the eagle has something in his mouth that says pluribus unum. I think that means out of many, one. In the eagle's, what you call this now? I don't know what they call the eagles, but in his grasp, he has an olive branch which signifies peace. And in his other feet, he has another set of instruments, 13 arrows. 13 arrows grasped, which they say symbolize war. So according to them, they hold the power of war and peace in their hands. And that is what we're seeing playing out in the world today. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, we end with some facts on Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein files have shocked the world. Jeffrey Epstein was born on January 20, 1953 in Brooklyn as a borough of New York City. Brooklyn is a borough of New York City. His parents, Pauline Paula Stolovsky and Seymour George Epstein, were of Lithuanian Jewish and Polish Jewish ancestry. And you should remember from a few weeks ago when we looked at the presidents or the prime ministers, former prime ministers of Israel, and I showed you that all of them come from Northern Europe, thereabout, in and around the Russia region. It's the same here for Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm trying to show you that you don't get so large in the world unless you're a part of the Freemasons, which are the Christians, and unless you're a part of the Jews, which are the Zionists. Let us look at some of Jeffrey Epstein's associates. So Epstein was associate to these three brothers, Oren, Alan, and Tal Alexander. And they were all Israeli-American businessmen. Israeli-American businessmen. So they're tied to Israel again, so Jews again. And the three brothers were convicted of sex crimes. And we don't have enough time tonight to look at all of his associates, but we're going to look at the ones that have Jewish ancestry. He was associated with Woody Allen. Woody Allen was born Alan Stewart Königsberg. His grandparents were Austrian Jewish immigrants, American filmmaker. And you realize that all of these men seem to have a liking for sex crimes. And these crimes often involve rape, prostitution, trafficking of the woman, and child abuse, child sexual assault. And it's a reason. Because remember, Yahweh warned against giving our children to pass through the fire of Molech. This means that the children were offered as a sacrifice. And it's the same thing that is happening with these young girls. And Jeffrey Epstein, that's why I show you that Jeffrey Epstein has Jewish origin. And if you dig far enough, you'll realize that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. Mossad is the secret intelligence agency of Israel. He was a Mossad agent that was sent to, what you call it now, get all of these rich men and politicians in bed and have them commit these crimes so that they can have a record of it and hold it as leverage over their heads to have them pass laws and policies and implement all of the things that the Zionists and the Freemasons have as their agenda that they want to impose on the world. He was associated with Dan Ariely, who was an Israeli-American author and professor. He was associated with Richard Axel, who was a molecular biologist born to Polish Jewish immigrants. He was associated to Ehud Barak, which was a former prime minister of Israel, who is of Lithuanian Jewish descent. He's associated with Leon David Black, a private equity investor who is Polish Jew, and David Blaine, who is a magician or mentalist who is of Russian Jewish ancestry. And we're going to go to the internet now because I couldn't bother to copy and paste all of those. And we're going to look at some more of his associates and call it a night. So he was associated with Leon Botstein. Botstein was born in Zurich, Switzerland in 1946, the son of Charles and Anne, Polish Jewish physicians again. And who was Botstein? American conductor, educator, historical musicologist, one of them big people again. Conductor is one of those persons who lead an orchestra. You know, if you know music, you know that that's where the real money is and the real prestige is. Sergei Mikhailovich Brin is another one. Is an American computer scientist and businessman who co-founded Google with Larry Page. I remember I showed you the Google signs a while ago. Jeffrey Epstein, big friend. Look at his ancestry. Was born into a Jewish family on August 21, 1973 in the Russian capital of Moscow. So he's Russian. John Brackman is an American literary agent and author specializing in scientific literature. He was born to Austrian immigrants of Jewish descent and grew up in Dorchester, which was a poor Irish Catholic enclave. So again, Jewish descent. You have another one called Noam Chomsky. Mr. Chomsky is an American intellectual, linguist, and political activist and social critic, sometimes called the father of modern linguistics. Linguistics have to do with languages. He was born to Ashkenazi Jews in Philadelphia. Right. David Copperfield, another popular name. David Copperfield, born David Seth Kotkin, you notice they like to change the name, is an American stage magician. So we saw David Blaine, who was a magician. Now we're seeing David Copperfield, who is another magician. And we know that magic has its roots in sorcery. He's an illusionist described by Forbes. Anyways, his ancestry. Copperfield was born David Seth Kotkin in Metuchen, New Jersey, the son of Jewish parents, Rebecca Kotkin, an insurance adjuster, and Hyman Kotkin, who owned and operated a Corby's. So Jewish ancestry again, David Copperfield. Then there's Alan Dershowitz. He's an American lawyer and law professor known for his work in U.S. constitutional and criminal law. The son of Claire and Harry Dershowitz, an Orthodox Jewish couple. Jews again. And you can look at all of these. David Gelernter, Boyne Gortzel, Dean Kamen, Bobby Kotkick. These persons are not normal persons. People, these are very rich persons. You have Lawrence Cross, Jack Lang, Robert Maxwell, Marvin Minsky, Steven Pinker, Brett Ratner, Mark Rowan, Al Sekel, Larry Summers, Mark Zuckerberg. If you don't believe him, go up on this one. Everybody know him. He's a Facebook man. Look at his ancestry. Mark Zuckerberg was born on May 14, 1984 in White Plains, New York, to Jewish parents, Dr. Edward Zuckerberg, a dentist, and his mother was a psychiatrist. He and his three sisters were raised in a Reformed Jewish household. That is the man who runs Facebook. And if you run Facebook, you run Instagram, and most of the social medias, because Facebook, I think even WhatsApp is now powered by Meta, which is essentially Facebook. There's one more I want to show you, but I have to go to Mr. Epstein's page to show you that one so you can understand and bring this thing full circle and call it a night. So this is the list of people named in the Epstein files. We're going to go to R. Surname R. So you can see Epstein was associated with Ariane de Rothschild, the French banker and CEO of Edmond de Rothschild Group. And you should know, I don't think I need to go any further, because you should be well familiar from previous teachings with the Rothschild. He was also familiar with Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, who is the chair of E.L. Rothschild. So you should have a full or a better understanding of how the world works, and that basically we are pawns in the system, and as long as we are part of this system, we will continue to be their pawns, and we have to try our utmost best to distance ourselves as best as possible, or as much as possible, from the system. And that is our little journey down the rabbit hole for tonight. We could have done a lot more, but we take it in bits and pieces. Questions, comments, concerns, loud outbursts before we call it a night on tonight's study?
Yeah, this rabbit hole, I tell you, is so disgusting. And all of us, and I say all of us, is succumb to it in terms of the standard of the world, the so-called standard of the world. You have to pass this, you have to do that in order to measure up, to earn a dollar or two. I mean, this world, if it's really, well, we all know that it's run by the devil. Because our forefathers sell out to him. So him have a free reign. And it's really sickening when you see all these things and know that all them people where you look on are controlled or influenced by the devil. There's no two ways about that. And if you say a thing like that to some people, them think something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
All of them people get a jump start in life because they sell out to the devil. That not say if you want a jump start, you're going to sell out to the devil. But as you point out, we are pawns in their environment. So we just have to try our best as much as possible, because it's not easy. Because you have to go take this, you have to go have a bachelor, you have to go have an associate for this, that, for certain job. And most of them I get in the university or the place, it have no relevance to the job when you check it out. But it's just how the system stay. And it's very sad, a lot of us Israelites striving for it and want to climb the ladder, so to speak. And I realize it is sickening, just like what you point out the other day. I mean, I think I video I watched last week, never there. When I say, we people, we just strive and believe so we are accomplishing something in this world. But in the sight of Yah, we're not accomplishing nothing. We are just taking for a ride. And our hope is to see Yeshua come clean up this. Because I tell you, we can't do nothing about it. We don't have no army, we don't have no bank, we don't have no financial institution. We don't have nothing. It's only Yahuwah we have to depend upon. And our hope is to see his return, which we know must happen. Because your word can't fall to the ground. Oh my gosh, I tell you.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
All right. So, I mean, it just flashed back my mind that this rabbit hole that we went down just now is when we look back at this narrow path that we are treading on, there's no two-way to it. There's no two-way on the narrow path, only one way. So we have to understand that in everything, it is designed, the world is designed to throw off those who are seeking the ancient path. And if we are not careful, we will be caught up. It will swallow us up if we are not careful. And seeing this, that because basically, it's everything, that is around us. The language, the educational system, the hospitals, the everything around us, even the dollars, the money, everything, it is tied. It is tied to something that is linked to Satan and his minions. So we have to be careful of this narrow path that we choose, so we don't slip and fall off. So it means that it takes all the focus that we have to really tread this path.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Shalom.
Does when you sorry, if somebody was going before me?
Yeah, as he was speaking.
Okay, all right, sorry about
Ah, boy. Whew. As the boy just said, boy, everything is just designed to keep us off the ancient thought and these things. So, well, I guess that's so many things right now. If we look into again and see how best we can walk right. Think they get it all, but it seems like every time we come, something else just that's what we say we're not really there on the track properly. We're not on the track properly, so we have to just go and try our best, as you rightfully said, to put Yahweh first and see how best we can italize our how best we can ashcap around all these things that they put in place for us. Not an easy task, but I just realize more and more say everything we know, wrap up and tie up and everything that is not good in it, what we think we know. So more to think about and to see how we can project our life more to Yahweh and ask him for more guidance and more protection and more open up the eyes to see what is not of him so we can walk the road that he wants us to walk. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks.
Miriam.
Okay. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shalom, everyone. No wonder Yahushua said in Matityahu, we cannot love Yah and Mammon. And when we look at the Hebrew or the Greek that they use to translate to Mammon, we realize that is money. And when we look at the money all around, I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I was saying into them that when you look at the money in this world, there's not $1 bill or a coin that has a live person, a living person on it, save for the British pound. And now we see where in which the Queen has passed and her image is still on the money. And when we really look at this and look at the whole thingy, oh, it's a conspiracy to for one set of people to be up and another set to be always down in poverty and impoverished and all of these things. So we as a people, we really have to just, because we live in the world, and Yahushua said again when he was departing, he asked Yahweh not to take us from the world, but to protect us, to guide us from those that are leaders and rulers and persons who are taking away the children. You know, he asks Yahweh to guide his people, to guide his offspring, to guide his heir, to guide his offspring from them. And we are to be really and take this as a privileged, as persons that are privileged to Yahweh, because he is holding on to his bargain of this petition that Yahweh put up for us as a people, you know, and that all of these things that are taking place around us, that we are not webbed into it, and our minds be focused on Yahweh. And whenever we learn or come into new knowledge or added knowledge, then we should, as a people, to bask into these knowledge and to drop off or lay aside the things that we normally hold on to, and not to be lovers of these things, but just use it because Yahushua said that we are in the world, and he asks Yahuwah not to take us out of the world, but to protect us and guide us through. Let us be able to see the world for what it is in plain sight, but where others will not be able to see. And now he is revealing all of these things to us. So we are privileged. Indeed, we are privileged. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So again, just a reminder, the purpose of these presentations is to bring to your awareness, to bring to your psyche the system and how strategically there's a method to Satan's madness, and there's a strategy behind all the chaos, and he understands it, and it is so intricately designed by him And the purpose of these presentations is to raise awareness towards that and to bring forth such a feeling, I don't want to say a feeling of despondence, but a feeling of overwhelming concern where you wonder, how do I not find myself caught up in the system? And that will bring us into the series of presentation I mentioned a few weeks ago, being Hebrew concepts, because this is just a tip of the iceberg, because you're going to learn that everything you once thought you knew is not so according to Yahuwah's culture, according to scripture, and according to the Hebrews. Everything that we know is according to Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, the Greek Hellenized Western way of thinking that has infiltrated even the very Bible that we read. And I think Yahuwah is now, because we've been asking for the ancient part, and I think this is a significant step towards that direction where we have to change the way we even think. Because you might think you know how to think, and we're going to learn that we don't even know how to think. Because in the Western world, you think from an abstract perspective, and in the Hebrew world, you think from a concrete perspective. And so the Hebrew culture is a culture of action and not a culture of words. And I trust that everyone's interest has been piqued and everyone has a newfound appreciation for, or disdain, I should say, for the Western way of thinking and how nasty, for lack of a better word, it is, and are eager now to move away from it and to learn how to think and operate as Hebrews. I trust that. Go ahead.
Okay, and the next thing again, Tracy, you pointed out last week in regards to the Socrates and these men, that as some of us cling dear to, and that they are the ones who, open our eyes and giving us knowledge, and we are seeing the light now and all of these things. It is time that we don't hold fast to these persons as a people walking are in embarking on the narrow path, because these people have nothing good for us. While you were making your presentation, I was looking up for the etymology of Socrates, and it's definitely said it derived from ancient language like Hebrew, Greek, Latin, meaning destruction or death, are from spiritual figures. You understand? So these men, they knew exactly what they are doing. They knew exactly what they are doing. And they are marked for to let us, to lead us into our demise, to take us from off the path that Yahweh designed for us. And because they knew that Yahweh designed a path for us, they doesn't want us to continue to embark on that path. So we are not to take up these philosophies, these philosopher books, and reading from their literature and stuff like that. We are supposed to just stick to the scripture, because there's a lot in the scriptures for us. And when we understand the scripture, then we can embark into these other literature. So that just for knowing, and can really tell others the true meaning behind these literature. Shalom.
Yeah. And I hope that everyone is ready. I hope we can manage what is about to come, because I can tell you from personal experience that this is not an experience that you take lightly or it comes to you lightly. It shakes the foundation of everything that you believe, and you have to be very strong mentally to challenge everything that you believed and change it. It takes tremendous courage, and I know that we've been doing a lot of changes, and kudos to everyone who's been a part of that. But this is a whole nother level. Simple things like truth. You know, in this world, you hear people talking about my truth, and you have my truth, and you have your truth. It doesn't exist. There is just truth. Truth is not subjective. Truth is not objective. Truth is just truth. Truth does not care about your feelings. Truth does not care about my feelings. Truth is just truth. It's not opinionated. It is not sympathetic. It is not empathetic. It is just what it is. Full stop. You have a
Everything
son
in this
who is a,
world is relative. Everything is relative. No absolute. Everything is relative.
and it is not that way in the Hebrew culture. The Hebrew culture is a culture of
Exactly.
absolute.
Right.
It's a culture of absolutes. They're very, very, very correct there. You have a son. Truth is that the sun is across. That is just the truth, regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of how the community
Exactly.
feels about it. And the law says that the son should die. And that is the truth. You carry the son and you get the son killed because the law says that he should die. And that is what now you call justice. That is right. It is good. Even though someone dies, it is good. And as a parent, you are forced to see it as that because it is the truth. Your son needs to die because he's a crosses and he needs to be taken away from society so that he does not further corrupt the society or cause harm or injury to anyone else in the society. So your son needs to die, and that is a good thing. In the world that we're living now, it is not seen as a good thing. It is seen as unfortunate. In the Hebrew culture, it is not unfortunate. It is fortunate. You have to get rid of a person like that. And so these are things that we are going to have to challenge. These are things that we're going to have to face as our reality. Even the very concept of human rights as a Hebrew, you're going to have to challenge that. So a lot of things you're going to have to challenge. No human have the right to live after he took someone else's life. There is no human right for you to live. You forfeited that right when you took someone else's life. The Torah said eye for eye, tooth for tooth. And these are things that we're going to have to face. It's just the reality. As a Hebrew, as I said, it's a concrete culture. It's not abstract. So you don't go and conjure up thoughts in your head and think that this is correct. It is not in man to direct his own steps. Now we're seeing what is happening in the world as a result of man thinking thoughts of his own. Anyways, we're going to leave it there for tonight and end the recording before it gets too lengthy. So shalom, everyone.